there are two things that might be described that way. The first is just the combination of big media, big pharmaceutical corporations, all of the major institutions that base their businesses on things that can be characterized as information, which these days is more or less everything, actually. One aspect of that is that they're increasingly recognizing that they sit on vast archives of information that can be rendered into profit. So you'll increasingly find that corporations will be charging for access to things that they've done in the past. The newspaper industry is very, very big on this. Suddenly monetizing their vast back holdings.
Oh yes, yes.
It means that this is a small part of the world maybe, but it means that those of us who are researchers on the 20th century are suddenly finding it's incredibly expensive to do even quite basic work if you want to reproduce things like images from the past.
Yes.
Very, very expensive. It's crippling, actually.
Yeah.
Now, but that's. I don't want to make special pleading for my own world.
Well, but it's true. We find that here when we put in what is called B-roll into these programs, which B-roll is movies or still shots, and sometimes you just can't do it because people want money for stuff, for a photograph that was taken 60 years ago.
Yeah, and that's given the legal structure as it exists, that's a completely rational way for them to behave. It is an easy way to make money out of something that they're sitting on.
Yeah.
But the other industry, which I think you may be referring to, is an industry that's developed precisely for the upholding of intellectual property claims. So it's a policing, interdiction industry, a detection industry. And it's come about through a coalescence of forces from the public police forces, FBI, Customs and Excise, often internal subdivisions of major corporations. So Adobe, DirecTV, companies like this would have bodies within themselves that existed to uphold the intellectual property claims of their major corporations. Trade associations, the RIAA, the MPAA, private detective agencies. Right. So these different groups have come together over the last, say, 30, 40 years to develop a really global, relatively integrated intellectual property defense industry.
Yeah. Discs that one shoves into the, whatever they call that thing under the television set. And the first thing, FBI warning. Oh my God, I gather that a lot of this is opposed by the younger generation under the rubric that information wants to be free, quote unquote. And that is because of the internet and the web, the web, and they think that this is just terrible. That I tend to agree with them, although I also understand the need for people to make money off their efforts. But they think it's just terrible that there can be so much prevention of the spreading of information. And I'll tell you what is particularly interesting to me. You make the point that quite often what the so-called pirates are doing from the days of, quote, pirating music and movies is that they are making available to people great voices, great artists, great creations from the past that the people who own the copyrights are denying because they don't make enough money from it. So therefore you got pirating of records by Lawrence Melchior, and I'm watching, I have to laugh because this is so plebeian, but as somebody who went to school in the Midwest, I keep watching the Big Ten Network and I keep seeing these Big Ten icons. They've got movies from the 1940s and the 1950s. To me, this is a treasure. And until they started putting this on this Big Ten Network, whoever saw any of this? The point is that the younger people are, well, anybody who's been accused of pirating has often said, we're not doing this for the money, and you're not hoarding it for the money either. You're just preventing people from seeing it.
Now, there's a real issue here. I mean, obviously, to some extent, these arguments by those accused of piracy are self-interested, and there's no point in not admitting that. Yeah. But there's also a real issue that in the world of books is often called orphan books. These are books that are in copyright but not in print, so they're unobtainable. But the copyright owners don't see a financial interest in reproducing them, so they effectively become silenced.
Yeah.
There's no way of getting them without trying to tweak some principle of access out of a byway of copyright law or something like that, or else just being overwhelmingly powerful, as Google is.
This excerpt is brought to you by the Massachusetts School of Law, the leader of reform in legal education and a leader in multimedia education for the public. To view the full interview and for a full listing of MSL's programs, log on to mslaw.edu.